Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Spooncraft! It's been a while, because I spent another few weeks just doing nothing but playing Spooncraft, and I got a lot done. It wasn't actually as intense as the first time, but as soon as I got done with everything that I was doing this time around, I just got slammed with work. So I just have not had the same kind of free time that I had a few months ago. So when I'm sitting down to record this voiceover, it's like a couple months after all of this has been recorded. So this is gonna be a fun challenge to see how much I can remember. Like, I'm really just gonna be looking over, so I'm getting mud here. This is me spending ages getting mud. This is me taking a bunch of clay that I found and turning it into clay balls. I'm almost certainly going to make bricks out of it. Oh, okay, I remember what I'm doing now. I'm adding an expansion onto the end of my building towards the shore. I had the idea to make a shop. I wanted to make a cute little coffee shop. The original idea was I had a neighbor, Coffee Puma, and I was like, oh, it would be kind of like fun to in theme with the coffee motif because that's my only neighbor at the time, like make a coffee shop, get it? It's like a dedication. But Coffee Puma hasn't played in ages. Even at the time that I was building this, Coffee hadn't been on in ages, so that's kind of moot at this point. Because I can never be bothered to get all of my materials ahead of time, I guess we're just gonna go back and forth between me running to get calcite and making progress on this thing. I did have a schematic to follow, so like at least this part's pretty straightforward. It's just cut up so much. Ooh, let's see, she's in the nether now. Where's she going? Oh yeah, I remember this. There was some confusion with the nether portals because we had the portal at spawn that led to the nether roof, and that was like, that was my go-to way to get to the nether roof until I moved my portal up there. And then there was the original spawn portal that went into the regular nether. And after I moved my portal onto the roof, my only way to get to the regular nether to get stuff like quartz was at spawn. And then I went there and they had moved the portals around and I couldn't find one that led to the regular nether until someone pointed it out for me. So that was like a whole confusing fiasco that was pretty quickly resolved. So since the exterior of the coffee house is black, I did find my way back into the regular nether and get myself a load more black stone. Bada bing, bada boom, just like that, the whole coffee shop is done. And at this point, I'm just adding on another floor so that it looks like we have an entire building. Put some nice warm lighting on the interior. I even made a little bathroom and got jump scared by fox. We venture into the Badlands to get terracotta and sand. The depths of the ocean for a coral fan. I got confused because I didn't actually know which kind I was supposed to get or like how to retrieve it, but I figured it out eventually. Looky here, this is where I keep all my kelp. I use it to get a lot of bone meal quickly. There was one day on the server where Furbo decided that he needed some beacons, and the thing about that is that whenever you spawn a wither, it makes a noise that the entire server can hear. Or was it the dragon? I think it was withers. He summoned so many withers. It was so obnoxious. I had to turn hostile mob sounds off, and I told him, like, I swear to God, I better not be killed by a creeper. But I just like could not stand to have that on anymore. And then I went back in editing, and playing that all back really fast sounds insane. Next things next. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I'm finally getting started on my journey to get myself some bees. It took me a while to figure out how I was going to do this. I went online and tried to read about how to get bee nests to spawn, and I misread some of what I read or misunderstood it. It was a little confusing to me, so I spent a lot of time on methods that I don't think were ever going to work. But eventually I was wandering around, saw some bees, and I was like, well, I wasted all my time, but hey, that works. So I waited for them to fly home and silk touched that bitch. Now the bee enclosure I think would be less awkward if it wasn't on the second floor, but for what it is, I'm decently happy with how it came out. And what coincides with my plans for this episode include an expansion of the sugarcane farm. It's moments of harassment like this that make me wish that I thought to record whenever I was in a voice chat. Okay, now we're moving on to the next phase. You see this window change, that's subtle, but it's part of something important. The fire escape is going up too. You see how it goes beyond the ceiling? That's because we're doing something cool. The last little finishing touch goes on the back of the coffee shop. One day there were a lot of people on and they were all in one place and I wanted to know what was going on, so I flew in to see what was going on, and boy, I didn't understand. There was like a pile, Lump Incorporated, not suspicious at all. I didn't know why. I think I remember being in a voice chat for this, but this is what I was saying before. Like, I really wish that I would have just recorded whenever I was in a voice chat so I could have edited it down, because that would have been way better than attempting to explain all of the context for everything that happened here. Like, I was in a hole, someone made a different hole and I fell down that hole and I lost all my stuff, and then some other people went into the hole to get my stuff, and then they didn't get my stuff, but then they eventually did get my stuff and I got it back. And then someone who just happened to have like a heck ton of wool started building this tower, and we like joined in on building the tower, and then Cute Carnival and I made a little room in the tower and like, this is our room, and they were like, no, this is not your room. And then they started digging holes in the floor, and we had this whole issue where people would not fucking stop spleefing. More people joined in, it descended into further chaos, we made another branch off the other side. You would think when I fell to my death and used my totem that people would take that as a hint that, hey, maybe you should actually stop spleefing, but these people don't learn, do they? Carnival and I skittered into a corner and made a new apartment. It was a very small, very cheap apartment, but it was home. And then we had a home invasion. My favorite part was when someone set off a TNT next to our home and we barely escaped death, and then they started TNTing the whole thing and slowly took it all down. I, of course, seized the opportunity to get myself some quartz before heading back home to make more progress on the build. As you can see, I decided the scale of my building was not adequate. No, I need a second floor. Not a second floor, a third floor. Well, it's a second if you're British. Not only that, but the corner gets another additional floor as a little accent floor. That's the penthouse suite, baby. Check out another sick snippet of Furbo summoning more withers. Now I'm making an expansion to my crop farm, and it involves villagers. It's automated, so I need to move my villagers into it. I multiplied the boys, got them over, got them in place. Eve visited me briefly, and then I made a run back to my bee farm and I made my first honey block. These honey blocks are part of the build. They're a detail so that some of the windows look lit. Not lit as in cool, lit as in the lights are on inside. It's life to the build. And of course, I never gather materials ahead of time, so I was just picking these up as I went. Random came by, and of course I had to show her my bees. After strangely getting myself lodged into a corner, I made more progress on the windows. And then I got more honey and made more progress on the windows. And then I scaffolded up with dirt and made more progress on the windows. And then I got back to the villager situation. These two bitches would not breed, and I don't know why. And then I went AFK for a little bit, and Loca and Carnival showed up, and they thought they were sly. They weren't. By the way, I'm sorry this looks kind of wonky. The things I had to do to get the voice chat to show up here are they're just inherently very wonky, and there is no better way to do this, unfortunately. But anyway, I thought they were funny, so I let them push me down the stairs a little bit before I got bored and curious and just decided to chase after them, and oh my lord, I could not believe my eyes when I saw what they had been doing at the base of my mine. Now, because the stairs go like diagonally down, they end up going outside of my claim, so like this isn't mine technically. They've got every right to be digging here, but like the time investment it would have taken to do this. Why? Why would you do this to yourself? I was very curious, so I asked, why would you do this to yourself? And they wouldn't answer me. They would not tell me why. I don't understand, like, not only do I not understand why they did it, I don't understand why it was a thing that they would not tell me why they did it. It seemed nefarious. It seemed suspicious. Like, I understood that they were messing with me, but my curiosity was through the freaking roof. So you see, then I felt like I was clever, so I got my golden shovel and I claimed the whole chunk. I was like, if they're not gonna tell me what the hole is for, I'm gonna hold the hole hostage. They didn't care. They went right to the exact outside of the claim and just started digging there. So I tried to claim more and they just did the same thing again. Like, they just don't care. They're just there to dig. They don't care what they're digging. It's not about the hole. I tried to confront them. I tried to corner them. I mentioned the lava. They would talk to me about the lava. I am not a clever person. I'm not big on ideas. I was coming up short on ways to get the information out of them. And if you remember from episode 1, I'm poor. I can't bribe them either. either. Assuming it was Loca's hole, I tried DMing Carnival for information, but they're in cahoots. I'd asked for advice and was told to try threatening them, but they just ignored me. So frustrated and all out of ideas, I had to move on with the vague hope that, maybe they'll come back to me and be like, okay, fair enough, you know, we're done messing with you, we'll tell you. They didn't. That did not happen. I do not know what the hole is for. I think maybe they need they must need a lot of deep slate. Like, that has to be it, but I don't know. Then I showed Eve my bees. Then I couldn't figure out how to make the item frame invisible, so Eve helped me make the item frame invisible. And then one of my bees got loose, and Eve was like, hey, one of your bees got loose, so I took care of it. I don't remember what prompted this visit to Eve's base, but like, can we just take a second and appreciate Eve's base, man? Like, it's so pretty. Look at that. Then one day, I was flying around. I don't remember why, but I had the mini-map open, and I saw that Loca and Carnival and a few other people were all in one spot in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, that is directly east of my base. Like, exactly east of my base. They're underground. I went down my tunnel into the big pit. Sure enough, there was a big old tunnel leading straight in that direction that went on for ages. Actually, unfortunately, not as many ages as I had hoped, because I got close and I sent them a message to be all like ominous so that they would be like, oh, what's that about? And then 10 seconds later I would arrive, but I stopped being able to move as quickly and still had a little ways to go, so I kind of took my own thunder there. But upon arrival, I hardly had enough time to ask what they were all doing there before I heard someone summon a warden, and so because I like living, I left. Hope that went well for all of them. After that, I looked up a tutorial that automatically farms honey into bottles and puts them in a chest, and I built that. And it seems I made a little visit to the spider farm. I don't remember if I showed this in my last video, but I found 2 spider spawners that were right next to each other, so I made them into one big dual farm. It's kinda shit for XP, but it's really good for string. Most of the time when I play Spooncraft, I have the minimap open on another screen, and I'll check over to it regularly, and I happened to notice that Carnival and Loca were at my base. Now, I can only see the X and Z coordinates, not the Y, so I went hunting all around my base like a game of hide and seek, trying to figure out where they were, and sure enough, they were hiding in my base. And they hung around for a while after that, although invis. I think they were subtle? No, surely they know they were not subtle. Eve heard that they were sneaking around my base, joined in, they all went invis. They were not subtle. And then I was trying to sleep, and Eve stole my bed, and that crossed a line, so that was when one of the 2 people who are trusted in my claim lost trust. Very serious matter. And then Untold paid me a visit.
What the heck, floating KB stick? Rude.
Hi.
Hello. I'm a little lost. Also, there's a floating stick.
My house is haunted.
Makes sense.
I think I made a mistake giving everyone invisibility.
All I wanted was some peace, quiet, and coffee, but no, ghost. After that, it was about darn time to start messing with them right back. This is another instance of us being in a VC. We were definitely in a VC for this, I'm pretty sure. I remember having an exchange about like, oh, I want to get inside because I live here. Like, oh, you're going to need to give me some sort of identification, and then that was what the shield was for. But like, whenever I encounter someone, note to future self, whenever I encounter someone on Spooncraft, boot up Streamlabs, hit record. What are you doing? Ooh, then we had a very special occurrence. Rusty Courage joined Spooncraft for the first, I think it was the first time. I'm pretty sure this was the first time that Rusty logged on. She had finally gotten enough levels in the Discord to join. I didn't know if Rusty knew about the minimap, but I used it to find her location. And again, you don't know the Y level, so I just started digging until I saw her name tag. Casually popped on into her cave like a normal, not obsessed person and said hi. Like a normal person. Like a normal, not flustered, not obsessed person. Very cool. I was very excited for Rusty to log on. She's an animator on YouTube. If you haven't heard of her, if you haven't seen her, go check her out. She makes animations for mostly Hermitcraft these days, and I like what she does, and you should check it out. And I was not the only one who hunted her down. Eve literally dropped in, shortly followed by Golden. And I mean, I think Golden ran off to somewhere else, but I'm like, I like this animator person, and I've never really gotten the chance to interact with her before, so I'm gonna hang around and be social. We found a sick cave. It was cool because it was like so deep, so far that like the back of it didn't render, and it was just sky behind it, and it looked insane. And so we just hopped around there for a little while until Eve managed to to summon a warden, and we noped right on out of that situation. So once I got home, I started thinking of what I'm gonna do about all these darn iron golems. So I took one of the areas that they tend to spawn in underneath the coffee house and tried to fill it in with dirt as much as possible. I don't have an unlimited amount of dirt, so I left some holes, but certainly not ones big enough for golems to spawn in. Next up, I was tired of these villagers not breeding, so I got serious. I got them their own little area, and I put down all the beds in one spot and just kind of waited for them, you know, to do their thing. It was kind of sweet to watch all the little ones run around and chase each other. They got busy in no time. Before I knew it, I had plenty of villagers. I filtered them right into my farm, and now they're hard at work. Me and the other Spoonville residents have been talking, and we think we have these streets that we all live on. They ought to have names. They were trying, I don't remember what they wanted to name one of the streets, but I was just like, that's a terrible idea. I hate that. So I was like, hear me out. I built these first 2 streets. I'll name them. If you branch off, whoever branches it off can name it. That seems fair to me. But like, I swear to God, these people wanted to name the area Poolville. First of all, it's already called Spoonville. It was called Spoonville the whole time. It was called Spoonville before the server launched. Second of all, that's stupid. What are you, 7? What are you, 7 years old? So I tried to look for some information. I went online. I went to the original Greg's and Tesco pair that my build is based on, and one of the streets that it's on is called Munster. So we went with Munster Street for that one. Now the other one was like a highway name, like A34 or something like that, right? And that doesn't sound very nice. So I know you wouldn't know this because you don't play the server, but there's this guy called Poison Loca, and he's like butter themed for some reason, and he says butter like all the time, and it's only a little bit obnoxious. But he had like put signs all over the area that said butter on them, and I'm like, I guess that's kind of a motif. That's something I can work with. So I made the other one Butter Street. With all my fancy new villagers, it was time for a little bit of reform. And I hate the doors in front of my portal, so it was time to get rid of those. Moved the portal up and expanded my villager room. Because of the shape of the building, admittedly, it's a little wonky. Not really anything I can do about that. I work with the space I'm given. That's part of the creative flow. You work through limitations. I don't know how fair it is of me to say that when I didn't come up with a creative solution to a limitation and just sort of succumb to it, but shush. Don't tell anyone. So we filtered all of the villagers from the breeding area into the newly expanded area. I went ahead and brought one of the guys down to the Greg's because I thought it would be a nice little detail to have a teller. Not a teller. This isn't a bank. A cashier. And it was at that time that I also took my beeswax and finally put the drinks in the coolers in the Greg's. That has been unfinished for so long. Also, sorry about the bad camera angles. Obviously, there were cacti in the way. But we got our Lucozades and our, I don't know what other drinks they would have. Lemonade or something. I just bought Lucozade, I don't remember. I wanted to make sure that the Greg's was nice and detailed and finished, so I got some more bread and I wanted to get some item frames and fill up the shelves with product. But when I went to get more leather, I discovered an issue. I don't know how, but a chicken and a pig managed to get inside the orphan crusher. I fixed the issue, but like, it will happen again. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. I guess the chicken and the villager I kind of get, but I don't even remember pigs being in the area. Additionally, the collector chest for the farm was completely filled with eggs. So in order to not put them to waste, I made a chicken hole. Don't worry, it's so humane. They love it. Look at them. Yeah. I think this whole experience taught me some intricacies about making item frames invisible because I spent like forever on some of these. Some of these I got right away, and some of these just like would not budge. I think I kind of figured out the trick to it. Put some posters up on the wall, put some posters up in the Costa. It's a Costa, by the way. The coffee shop, it's a Costa. I don't remember if I got the banners up before the end of the episode, but it is a Costa. I needed my head for something, and I don't remember what, but Eve was in the area, so I turned PvP on and told her to collect my head. I ended up getting 3 heads. One for the person who needed one for me, and one for Eve. Souvenir. Then I heard a banging on one of my doors. I went to investigate it, and lo and behold, there was a zombie, and he had zombified my cashier. I was like, oh, couldn't even sleep in my bed because of the dang guy. So obviously, we have a problem. We have a zombie outbreak. Boarded up the Tesco's. The safety of my employee is paramount. I cannot let these creatures of the night get to him. So we boarded it up. No disease getting in or out until the area is improved. A bunch of my neighbors are not very good at lighting up their bases, so we have certain situations where we are kind of stuck with zombies spawning. Anyway, I went ahead and healed this guy. Felt like kind of a waste because I'm not like using him for any trades. So he's about to have some hella discounts on things I will never buy. And the Greg's is, of course, going to stay locked down, quarantined, until I can ensure the safety of my employee, that there will be no more outbreaks for him to succumb to. Well, and then one time I was just flying around, just doing my thing, and I died, and I couldn't understand why, so I went back into replay, and if we look at this in slow motion, I was flying, caught the edge of the building, it took me out of fly mode, I was falling, I didn't realize I was falling immediately, and by the time that I reacted and tried to deploy my wings, I had already fallen too far, so I just smacked right into the ground and immediately died. And like, even based on that, I feel like the little bit of flight that there was in between should have been enough to stop that from being a lethal fall. And I had boots, which I think have some feather falling on them, I'm not sure. I don't know, it just seems a little ridiculous to me, but game physics, I guess. It was fine. Then I had some more quartz, so I got to make a little bit more progress on the top of my base because it looked like it was finished earlier, but it was not. And then I was hanging out and I saw someone coming towards my base, so I went to go see why he was doing that. It turned out to be Sammy Pants, who was interacting with my villager, and I was like, bro, you can't be in here. We are closed, dude. And he's like, I just wanted to say hi to you. And I was like, hi, we're closed. Please get away from my employee. Because you don't know what kind of cooties Sammy has. My employee is high risk. My employee doesn't have a name. Hey, comments, what should I name my employee? Anyway, with that danger out of the way, I went ahead and put the rest of the quartz on my base. I think this is finished, other than like the windows maybe. I have a hard time keeping track. And then I bet you never noticed that I didn't properly finish the farm, but here's me putting the rest of the doors on. The citizens of Spoonville and I have been in talks for some time. And now that my base was in a good spot, I went and made a little schematic for a bridge. It required a lot of stone, so I ended up having to spend a lot of time under my base just collecting stone and smelting it and crafting it and collecting it and smelting it and crafting it. And I needed some other stuff for texturing, so here's me in the nether getting a bunch of basalt. I tried very hard to get a smooth transition from the stone bricks to the cobbled deep slate, but my goodness, as much as there's like a bunch of different shades of light bricks and a bunch of different shades of dark bricks, it is really hard to find in between bricks. So it feels like such a sudden change, especially because out of the blocks that are available, there are even fewer available in walls. Regardless, I did what I could. I might get some lichen and come back and see if I can make that transition a little bit smoother. Fun fact, when I was doing this, the schematic was probably only about like 5 pillars wide, and I just sort of like copy pasted it. I made like adjustments where I needed to in order to make everything connect correctly. I think in the end it was pretty seamless. I don't think you could tell. And this was pretty resource intensive, but it's all like some of the most common resources. The funny thing is I took so long to build this and make it pretty, I don't think anybody's gonna use it now. Everybody's got Elytra, so if they're gonna cross this path, they're gonna fly across it. They're more likely to just use a portal. Nevertheless, that's not a reason not to have pretty things on our server, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. One itty bitty issue I ran into at the end was this tower of signs. Someone had originally put a sign there that said something like bridge to Spoonville, and someone put a sign on top of that, someone put a sign on top of that, etc., until we had this just huge towering pillar of signs. I didn't know if this was going to be deemed as important or historic, so I didn't want to mess with it. So I went in the server and I asked for some feedback, and the general consensus was nobody cares. Just take it down. So before I do, let's just take a second to commemorate everything that was on this tower and how tall it got. I tried to pan the camera in such a way that you could see most of the messages, but you're not going to be able to see all of them, unfortunately. I did make a bit of a big deal about this. I carved out the nerd poles that people had made around it so that it was just the signs, and I had gotten a bunch of people to gather around to see it all collapse. And in one little click, just like that, the whole thing was gone. Honestly, I thought it was going to come down the way that a bunch of scaffolding does, where it's like the bottom one goes in the next and the next and the next in quick succession, and it's like this cascade. Apparently that is not how it works. Then I found Loka in my base being not suspicious at all, and of course just moved right on with my day. Then I needed to AFK for something, and I tell you what, I don't remember what, but I do remember that I AFK overnight, and I stood in a window facing out with like a dirt shelter around me so that nothing would happen to me. And I had like 8 hours of replay footage, which is difficult for replay to handle. It gets pretty laggy when you get a recording longer than like 2 hours. And I mean, that depends on how beefy your computer is as well. Regardless, I decided to comb through and see if anything interesting happened. There were like a couple of things. Fox did come by and leave me a message, and then he got attacked by phantoms on camera. Someone else came by to investigate me but didn't really do anything. I forgot to capture who it was. I think I remember it being Loca. Cannot confirm. After that, I saw the abysmal output of my sugarcane farm and realized that I didn't even fill it all up with sugarcane. Like, I left my brain at home that day, I guess. So I fixed that, and then I went to all of my librarian villagers and put labels on them so I could quickly find my enchantments. Loca is nearby as always. I went ahead and put up some of those new 1.20 bookshelves as storage for excess enchantments as well. Chucked on a little bit of exterior I had missed. Traded out my wheat farmers. I don't remember why. Apparently I had made a temporary sugarcane farm here. Here is me getting rid of it. Oh yes, I remember now. I had discovered that the method I was using to automatically farm all of my crops works for most of them, but not for wheat, because when the villagers pick up wheat, they never throw it back down. So if I wanted a farm for automatic wheat, I would need something different. The type that I'm building now is a type I have done before, so I'm just taking the next slot down the hallway and installing that there. Took a little break from being productive to go to Eve at the shopping district and mess with whatever she was doing. Wappy and Tony came to help. We just kind of ran around. She got trapped in a box. There was a lot of scaffolding involved. Loco was there. And then later when I was home, I heard banging on a door and I had another zombie incident. And I'm like, how? This place is sealed. No one can get in here. I thought he had to have come through the house, but like, where could he have been coming from? You know, the house is lit up. Did I leave some space dark? So I went into my replay footage and I was able to track down from the moment that he spawned in and figure out exactly what path he took to get to my villager. And I tell you what, it was a little bit infuriating. So I cured my villager again and put up some COVID safety glass as a detail. And then Eve came by. I remember she dropped something on the floor and I was like, hey, you dropped this. And she was like, I don't care about that. I don't care about items. Let me show you how much I don't care about items. And she threw a bunch on the ground and she was like, give me a flint and steel. And instead of doing that, I picked them all up and started putting them in my chest because I am the opposite of I don't care about items. I am a hoarder. I keep every little wheat seed I find. Something of a pack rat, you might say. An organized one, at least. I find great pleasure in a very thorough and organized chest room. Somewhere where it's easy to find exactly what you need. Everything is where it's supposed to be. Everything is orderly, and there's plenty of everything to go around. Part of the reason I like so much to keep every little thing that I find is because the more things that I have, the more I can organize. And that's why oh, random's nearby on the minimap. Better run out and greet her. Hey, Randy, how you doing? I certainly wasn't doing anything secret and mysterious. What are you up to? Where was I, you ask? You saw that I was under my base, but you couldn't figure out how to get to me? Here, I'll show you where I was. I was over here. I needed so much stone, and I was just mining stone. So you definitely saw that I was down here, where these caves are. There's caves here. If you couldn't see me, that's probably why. I was down here. See, there's an opening here. It goes to a cave system. I was in the cave system. Where exactly in the cave system? Oh, boy. I'm not very good with directions. I don't know where in the cave system I was. Sorry. But yeah, I was just down there, not doing anything secret or suspicious. Oh, there's people around. Okay, yeah, let's go see the people. Let's go hang out with them. Rusty Courage, Parabla the Cactus Man, Poison Loca, people running around my house, people dying in my house, people in my house. Oh, we should all stand outside. You like it? I like it outside. Outside's pretty cool. I like when we stand outside and not in my house. Hey, let's go in someone else's house even. Oh yeah, and then Parabla like pushed Loca underwater while he was AFK and we had to like fish him out. That was fun. We had to beat the timer so that he wouldn't drown to death. Well, I suppose I resigned myself to putting off that for a minute to find some supplies. I had a list of odds and ends that I needed to retrieve in order to proceed with this build. So I went out and found some of the more obscure ones before I got back to clearing the space out. Where is this space exactly? If I can prevent YouTube from finding out, that'd be great, but I don't think that I can. Like, realistically, the joke of this all being a secret is gonna go right out the window the moment that this is posted. So I just have to hope that if I log back on, that my neighbors play dumb. Because it's like, no, you didn't canonically see the YouTube video. It's not real. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Now, okay, at this point, let me just go ahead and be forward with the whole pack rat situation. So, pack rat is supposed to be a villain identity. I don't remember why, but I remember that we talked about having like a secret underground crime thing. And I had come up with my thing. The premise of my villain identity would be that I go around stealing people's odds and ends because I obsessively want to organize it. And that could also manifest in me just organizing chests without taking anything. It's not very villainous, but like I don't actually want to get in anyone's way on the server. I just want to meddle in some innocent way, right? So because I'm like garbage themed, I thought it would be really funny if the entrance to my secret base was in the pile of garbage behind the Costa. Problem with that is that I am not a redstone expert. So I was like working for like a while and looking up tutorials, and like this is such a theoretically simple piston door, but it literally took me so long to like figure out how to make this work the way I wanted. I got there eventually, I got this working, but oh my lord, goodness gracious, the amount of testing this took. And then while I was working on it, I made some comment in the chat about how frustrating it was, and then Eve was like, oh, I'm gonna come there and help you or be moral support or whatever, and I was like, fuck, I'm stupid. I'm working on a secret project. I can't complain about it out loud where people who want to help me can hear. So I kind of just had to pretend to not be working on anything for a while because of that, which caused a brief little detour where I helped Eve get a certain enchantment, and Untold was burning in my fireplace, as you do. But everyone finally cleared out, and I finally got to finish my secret lair. I don't have a name for my secret lair. It's my secret lair. It'd be cool if it had a name though, right? And that's it. That's everything. That's the last thing I did. So as you admire my beautiful work of my secret, if you are a Spooncraft member, you didn't see shit, all right? That's called metagaming, and it's not allowed. You don't know where my secret base is. You don't know nothing. I don't want to hear anybody approach me about the pack rat unless they're like, who the fuck is the pack rat? Or if they're like, hey, can we form a secret villain team? If you're watching this and you're not on Spooncraft, thank you very much for watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you next week. I'm just kidding. I don't have a schedule. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.